The Irish residential schools: death, abuse, and denial, a legacy of injustice. Ireland has long been romanticized for its rolling green hills and rebel heart. But behind the poetry and politics lies a truth many still struggle to face. Tens of thousands of Irish children and women were locked in state-funded, church-run institutions, beaten, starved, buried, and forgotten. This is the story of Ireland's residential institutions, a vast network of industrial schools, Magdalene laundries, and mother and baby homes, where abuse was systemic, death was common, and justice is still unfinished. A system of control. From the mid-1800s to the late 20th century, Ireland built an entire infrastructure of incarceration for the poor, the immoral, and the unwanted. These included industrial schools for delinquent or abandoned children, reformatory schools for minor offenders, Magdalene laundries for so-called fallen women, mother and baby homes for unmarried pregnant women. While not called residential schools in the Canadian and Australian sense, these were institutions where children and women were placed, often without consent, and subjected to lifelong trauma. By the numbers, over 170 institutions operated across Ireland between the 19th and the 20th centuries. At least 42,000 children passed through industrial and reformatory schools from 1936 to 1970 alone. Over 56,000 unmarried mothers were confined to mother and baby homes between 1922 and 1998. Around 10,000 women worked in Magdalene laundries, often detained against their will. In Tuam, County Galway, a mass grave was discovered in 2014 beneath a former mother and baby home. 796 children died there between 1925 and 1961. Many were buried in a septic tank. Abuse, death, and dehumanization. Children were whipped, underfed, and worked like slaves. Girls were forcibly separated from their babies. Mothers were told their children had died, only to be illegally adopted abroad. Death rates in some homes were 3 to 5 times higher than the national average. In Bessborough Mother and Baby Home, over 900 children died, many under the age of 1. In Artane Industrial School, children were routinely beaten with sticks and belts, suffering lifelong physical and emotional trauma. In 2021, Mother and Baby Homes Commission report stated, women were treated appallingly. The institutions provided no emotional support, but survivors argue that the report underplayed the horror, calling it a whitewash. Who was targeted? This wasn't about religion or morality. It was about class, gender, and even ethnicity. Most victims were working-class Catholics. Many children were born to poor single mothers and taken from them. A disproportionate number were from Irish traveller communities, who were often seen as racially inferior and institutionalized en masse. This was a system designed to shame the vulnerable while protecting church and state power. Reparations. Has Ireland paid? Has Ireland made amends? Yes, but only partially and painfully slowly. Industrial and reformatory schools, like the Ryan Report, confirmed systemic physical and sexual harm. The Residential Institutions Redress Board was established, and over 15,000 survivors were compensated. Payouts totaled 1.5 billion, mostly from the state. Religious orders also contributed about 15%. In terms of Magdalene Laundries, in 2013, the Irish government finally issued a formal apology. Over 800 survivors received a lump sum of 11,500 to 100,000, but many were excluded. In terms of mother and baby homes, an $800 million compensation scheme was announced in 2022. But critics say the majority of survivors were left out, especially those who spent less than 6 months in the institutions. As of 2025, no religious order has been prosecuted, and mass graves remain unmarked. Reparations have been paid, but justice has not been served. Church and state, a toxic alliance. This wasn't rogue abuse. It was systemic collusion between the Irish state and the Catholic Church. The government outsourced social services to religious institutions. Officials turned a blind eye to abuse. Courts and police enforced the silence. The Irish state used religion to police sexuality, morality, and poverty, and thousands of lives were destroyed in the process. So why does it still matter? Ireland has changed. It's legalized same-sex marriage, repealed anti-abortion laws, and seen the church influence decline. But the wounds of the past aren't healed. Survivors still seek full accountability. Church archives remain sealed. Children's bodies lie in unmarked graves. To move forward, Ireland must stop framing these events as mistakes of a different time. They were crimes, and there must be justice. If you believe these stories must be told, please like, share, and subscribe. Also comment below, should the church be forced to pay more? Should prosecution still happen? This isn't just Irish history. It's a global warning about what happens when power, religion, and silence collide. Thank you for your time and attention. I look forward to seeing you again soon.